I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like coffee when it just sits out all day on the counter and gets all cold and that settles to the bottom. It's okay, I just grab a spoon, mix it up. There we have it. What's up? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jorge if you're new here, and of course I love all things home decor, including DIYs. And I'm very excited for this video because I actually asked you to submit your DIY requests and tell me what you want me to make. So I asked you over on Instagram as well as here on the community tab on YouTube, and you all delivered and sent me lots of incredible projects. And if you ever want to submit your own, by the way, you can just DM me over on Instagram, that's Casa_refine, or you can just email me in the specific email that I'm including in the description box. But anyways, I'm very excited for these projects. Let's see how many we can do. Let's keep these upscale, let's keep these tasteful, and let's hope I don't screw them up. Now for this next project, this was submitted by Ella. Hi Jorge, I love your content and the stuff that you make. Thank you very much. I'd love to see you do a DIY of the attached ruffled decorative bowls. I love how delicate they are and their organic, earthy texture. I bought some clay to try it myself, but I'm thinking they could be maybe done with plaster. I have no idea. They're so beautiful though, and I think they look so good. Yes, I absolutely love these bowls. Again, that sort of organic maybe handmade, or just something that maybe you found in nature or on a walk by the beach. I love that. So I'm gonna actually try to do this with oven baked clay, which I actually surprisingly have not worked with before. I feel like there's a lot of just, you know, everyday craft materials that I haven't worked with on this channel. I'm gonna go ahead and try it out, and let's hope we can make this look really just beautiful and high-end looking and just a statement piece. Like I said, I haven't worked with oven baked clay, but I'm sure it's not that complicated. So I'm going to use this one. I will link it down below. I'm only going to use about half of it, and I'm going to use this cutting mat. I actually got it at Dollar Tree from all places to protect the surface and just, you know, make it easier to work with. I'm warming it up essentially with my hands just to make it a little bit more easy to work with, and then rolling it out with an old rolling pin. No, I don't use this one for food. And then I'm trying to get this as thin as possible, maybe kind of like a corn tortilla, if you can think about that, or like a flour tortilla. And then I'm actually going to use some burlap because it has sort of this nice little texture that can give it kind of more of an organic feel. However, I will say that with this black one, some of the fibers were left onto the clay, and I don't know if that annoys you. I definitely would not do that. Maybe consider a different color of burlap or just another fabric, just whatever will give you a little bit of texture. Now to add more texture, I'm actually using this scrubbing brush and just gently poking at it. I found it pretty successful, so definitely would recommend. Now to get the organic bowl shape, I'm actually using this bunt pan of all things, but you could probably use any pan as long as it's oven safe, and that will honestly determine the shape of your bowl. I really like this one because it kind of makes it feel just more organic and just a little bit more organic, I guess. So I'm just gently tearing off the edges, and again, this will add to that sort of organic quality, something that I kind of found in nature, not too perfect. Once placed on there, I'm also just using my brush and just giving it a little more texture as needed, popping it into the oven according to the instructions. For me, I think it's about 15 minutes, but definitely look at the instructions of your clay. After removing it from the oven, I allowed it to cool down completely before trying to remove it from the mold. And then once that cooled down fully, I gently just kind of wiggled it off, and I was surprised it actually came off pretty easily. It did not really stick to the pan. If you want color, you can totally use different clay. There's different colors that they sell out there. You can probably paint this. Or I decided to give it a little bit of an aged look using some coffee. So I went ahead and kind of just brushed that on there. It kind of worked. Maybe if I'd have done a couple more coats, it would have been more noticeable. So I just added a little bit of brown paint in the end, mixed with some water. Not too much. I still want it to be white, but again, that aged look, just more organic feeling, I would say. We'll take a look at the final stage footage in just a moment, but I further made another bowl using just a similar technique, rolling the clay out very thinly and then just taking a plate as a template and then just cutting out this circle. And now I'm using an X-Acto knife, which I'm sure there are proper tools for working with this stuff, but I'm just using what I have. Now that I have a circle, I'm going to use this smaller baking dish. Can somebody tell me what these are called? They're very popular, you know, those white dishes for baking stuff. Anyways, and I'm trying to get sort of a ruffled look, which kind of happens naturally as it is sort of just hanging over the edge here. As you can see, it kind of reminds me of a taco bowl or a coffee filter, or you know, those trending bowls that are pretty much everywhere right now. They're very beautiful. So kind of just doing a pencil to help make a couple more ruffles. After removing it from the oven, of course, I allowed it to cool down and then I just gently took it off of the dish. But that does it for this project. Pretty cool little bowls. I'm excited to keep working with this material in the future, but let's take a look at how you can probably style this. Project. This was actually submitted by Courtney, and these are some vintage vessel lamps. Okay, hello Jorge. First of all, I'd like to say I love all your DIY projects. Thank you so much. Now for my DIY idea, I've got 3 words: vessel, table, lamps. I've been seeing a lot of high-end vessel lamps from RH, McGee & Co. They're beautiful lamps, but way too expensive. I believe you can make a dupe that looks just as good. Here are some photos for inspiration. Now, so provided these photos right here, and these lamps are absolutely gorgeous. They definitely look expensive. Now, of course, these have been kind of trending for a while now. There's been some DIYs on them already. I want to put in my own twist because I want to try out a new technique. Now, you could definitely do this with baking soda technique or the dirt technique, which are things that I have done on this channel. But I want to try out a new way to repurpose an old lamp and make it look expensive like this. For this project, I will be using this old table lamp that I actually bought at a thrift store. It's a really good way to just repurpose an old lamp maybe that you're not loving. Now I'm really loving this clay, so I'm going to use it again to make 3 little handles for the lamp. And I'm just making the clay a little bit thicker, probably about 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm cutting out just 3 rectangles. Honestly, I'm kind of just eyeballing this, but you can definitely measure if you would like. And I'm just using just a straight edge to cut the rectangles here. And honestly, I'm kind of just eyeballing it into the preferred shape that I want. This tends to be a good one for this lamp, so I'm just going to do it like this for all 3 of them as best as I can. It doesn't need to be perfect. And then I placed it on a cooking or baking sheet lined with some paper here, and then let's just pop it in the oven per instructions. For this one I did about 20 minutes since they are thicker. Once they are out and cooled off from the oven, I am going to glue these onto the lamp, but I just want to make sure I know where I want to put them, so I just tape them on there. Now I do give them a light sanding just because sometimes the shape will just alter a little bit when baking. And then I'm just taking some E6000, gluing it on there, and then just clamping it with some tape here. And honestly, I'm just gonna allow this to fully cure before I start doing anything to it. So did it for all 3 handles and then really just taped it, as you can see, and just let it sit for a few hours. Now that I removed the tape, I'm going to just scuff this up just gently with some sandpaper so that the product I use will adhere to it nicely. Now I'm using this stuff. This is Henry's Feather Finish. I actually use this in my IKEA's table hack video. You definitely should check it out if you haven't already. But essentially I'm going to add some water, and I kind of want sort of thick soup, kind of like tomato soup consistency for this, and I'm going to use it as paint. Now if you want to, you can definitely add some color. I have a cement video where I show different techniques of adding color, but I'm using this color pigment. This is the color, can't remember right now, but I'll put it below. Mixing it up, as you can see here, kind of just thick, and then I'm just going to paint it onto the lamp, kind of just like any old paint. I will add another coat of this, but just to speed things up, I'm using a blow dryer. That way I also don't have to mix up another batch. And then again, brushing it on there. And just a friendly reminder that when working with cement, you definitely want to be wearing some gloves. And also, if you have extra mixture, do not clean this up in the sink. Trust me, it'll ruin your pipes and it'll be a very expensive fix. Just let it harden and then dispose of later. Once that cures fully, I'm going to apply some sealer. I'm using Thompson's water sealer here. It comes in a spray can, I'll link it below. And for the lampshade, you can use any lampshade. I got this one, I believe, at Target. I'll see if I can put it below as well. Really quickly, I do want to mention that I often get asked for just design advice, item recommendations, all that great stuff, and I try to get to as much as I can, but I would also invite you to go say hello over on casarefined.com, where I'm sharing just more home decor advice, things that I am loving, and just bonus content that does not end up here on the channel. Come say hello, subscribe to the newsletter. Don't worry, I won't spam you, and yeah, let's keep the party going. Oh, I got a paper cup. This next project is from Hana, I hope I'm saying that correctly, all the way from Kazakhstan, which I think is so cool that you watch these videos all the way across the globe, but I guess that's how the internet works. Anyways, she writes, "Hi Jorge, please try to do this light fixture or rattan canvas painting. I look forward to watching your video." So she submitted this photo. I'm going to try to attempt the light fixture, the pendant, and it is a beautiful piece. Now, if you're not familiar with this piece, this is actually called the Vertigo Pendant Lamp. It's a really beautiful piece because this sort of is a very sculptural light fixture. It actually supposed to move and sort of rotate with just the airflow in the space and create all sorts of amazing shadows. I think this is definitely a statement piece. So I'm gonna try to create it with an old lamp. Let's hope I can pull this off, and we might need to get a little crafty, but let's see what we can do. Alright, so for this lamp, I'm going to be using this old lampshade. I actually thrifted this. It's not too small, but it's not too large either. And this one is the one that is mounted sort of with this large hole in the center. I think it's called Slip Uno. I think that's the mounting type, just so that I'm able to sort of use it as a pendant with the light bulb. So I'm going to be using this. Also went over to Home Depot or Lowe's I believe, and I got some wire. Now this wire, it could be really any wire, but just as long as it's thick enough so that it can sort of sustain itself like this, as you can see. And I think this is copper wire cut by the foot, and I had them cut 12 feet for me, which ended up being about like $6 or $7. I will link the item below so that you know exactly which one I use. I also picked up a couple of these ribbon rolls, which is 3/8 of an inch, and I got black just because I want that color. Full disclosure, this project took a little bit of time. It's not hard, but it was a little bit time consuming, so definitely put on your music, podcast, movie, whatever. Now I'm taking this small lampshade that I stripped down to the bones, and then I'm going to make a circle with the wire, and I'm just using some duct tape to glue it, or not glue it, tape it together. The diameter for this ended up being about maybe 2 feet, but you can make this as big or as large as you want. Now I'm just going to spray paint these black because I'm going to be making a black lamp. Now I'm going to just roughly find the center of this just so that I know how wide or how long to cut the ribbon. Now for this ribbon, I'm using this 3/8 inch ribbon. I got a couple packs of this, and then I'm going to sort of put it on the lampshade and then kind of just put it across to the outer edge of the wire, as you can see here. I feel like this is harder to explain. It's probably easier to just watch. Now I ended up cutting about 48, I want to say, of these, and they're about 3 feet in length. And then I'm kind of evenly spacing them out around the circle. I'm kind of eyeballing this, but I'm using sort of the frame of the lampshade to help guide. I'm assuming it is evenly dispersed, but as you can see, this starts to give me an idea of how many I'm actually going to be needing. And once I lay that out, then I'm ready to start gluing this together. And I'm going to use this super fabric adhesion. I could probably sew this, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to use this, and then I'm just putting it onto the frame, kind of like putting the tips, I would say. Again, this is harder to explain, but kind of just using the tips to glue them to each other, making a loop onto the smaller circle. These paper clips came in very handy to sort of clamp this together while the glue cured, but honestly I just left it on there for like 2 minutes and then kind of just moved around the lampshade. And honestly, this was the tedious part of this process. It took a little bit of time, but again, just looping around the whole lampshade until every single thing is filled. Once complete, I flipped over the lampshade, and I'm using some E6000 to adhere the ribbon to the frame of the, I guess, lampshade, and then using again the clips to sort of hold them into place while that dries. But honestly, just a couple minutes, and then kind of just using that and kind of just evenly spacing them out as best I can. Now, since this lampshade is sort of in a cone shape, the bottom of the lampshade, there's going to be some gaps, as you can see. And finally, it is time to glue the ribbon to the outer circle. And here I'm kind of just eyeballing the center of this, to be honest with you. This is probably a better mathematical way to lay all this out. I'm not bothering with it, which I probably should have, which you'll see in the end. And then again, taking my fabric adhesive to glue the loops onto the outer frame. Again, the paper clips. And then again, just doing this, making sure that everything is evenly spaced out. Allow that sit for about an hour or so, just so that the E6000 can cure a little bit. Then I'm just taking some scissors and cutting off the excess ribbon. Now that'll pretty much do it for this project. And definitely hardwire. I'm using this sort of plug-in pendant that I bought on Amazon. I'll link it below.
So we have a little bit of a problem. So yeah, there is a weight distribution problem with this, obviously, and I think the reason for that is because some of the copper or some of the wire is kind of just heavy on one side, so it's just causing it to sort of be unbalanced. I guess that's what happens. Sometimes things don't work out. Honestly, this took a lot of work. I would not recommend it. Go ahead and just buy the real thing, or I went ahead and found a similar dupe for much less. I will link it in the description. So what I'm thinking for this is maybe I can add more wire on another side, or I don't know, just something to sort of balance it out and bring it back over to this side. I think I'm just going to use some string and kind of lift up the other side and attach it to the ceiling. Kind of janky, but you know, we tried. we tried.
I mounted it to the ceiling and I'm using this sewing thread to kind of help balance it. Again, janky, but I guess it worked in the end. But I don't know, it's kind of an interesting project. Let's just look at the final photos, please.
Do we have time for another one? We'll save this one for the next video. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you, submit other DIY projects that you want me to make. Shoot me a DM over on Instagram, or maybe comment below, or I'll put a specific email that you can send it to in the description. But seriously, I'm having fun really making these, and my goal is to not make them look like they were DIY projects. Of course, I want them to look like they were sort of an upscale piece that we bought very expensively, or a treasure that we found. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know which of the projects you love the most. Comment, like, subscribe, all that great stuff that helps out the channel. But thank you so much for watching. Check out these other DIYs that I will put here at the end that you might want to check out. But have an amazing day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.